Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking some time this morning to join us on a little bit of Aramaic. And we are today in Colossians chapter 3 and verse 10. And this one just struck me as I was going through it on my personal daily study. And what struck me is first, the number of words that were being used to describe um, attributes and qualities. And then what also struck me is the different translations on how they look at how these attributes or qualities should be found in us. Etheridge here has wear, therefore, meaning to wear them like a cloak, as you are the chosen of Aloha, which is the Aramaic way of saying God. um, Saints and beloved, compassions, tenderness, benignity, lowliness of mind, and composure and patience. So those are different words than what we might be familiar with in the King James, where it says put on, therefore. See a little bit of parallel of wear and put on, as the elect of God, holy, beloved, bowels of mercy. Again, kind of a strange term that is King James English. Kindness, humbleness of mind, and meekness. How are those the same or how are they different? And long suffering. But then you get to Murdoch and Lamsa, which are also taken from this same Aramaic Peshitta text, and they use compassions, tenderness, suavity, gentleness, long suffering, patience, meekness. So the terms are similar but slightly different. And we'll break this into maybe two lessons. The first one here, I just want to look at what does it mean? We can go through these terms of what they mean, but how should we be exhibiting them? How should they be active in our lives? What is this verse trying to say on how these items, as we strive to implement them in our lives, what do we do with them, and what do others, how are others impacted? So that's where we look at this first verse here, first part of the verse, and it uses the word lavash. And the word lavash, is very similar in Hebrew. They have translated here in the meaning, saying that it's to put on, it's to clothe, or to be clothed. So we want to take a look at that word because that's kind of the key. We unpack this. The first window comes up here, and it shows us that uh, it's basically it gives us nothing different. But now what I like to do is look where these are being used. And so what's interesting here is this word is only used twice. It's used in Ephesians 6:13, which would be a great cross-reference to go and read that word and look at in that verse and look at the context of what it's saying. We may do that a little bit later. And then it's used here in our verse that we're studying today. So let's go to our friend Marcus Jastrow um, and look at where this word was used in the Targumim, which are the Hebrew writings that existed for the Jewish people around the time when Jesus and the disciples walked on the earth. So picture Paul being raised in the synagogue and hearing the teaching. He would have been exposed to the Targumim, which are just some of them are the translations, some of them are the expounding of the word as it's used in other literature in their everyday life. And that's kind of what we're looking for, is that when they heard this word, they would be drawing upon what they heard growing up. They wouldn't be drawing upon a book from antiquity as we're reading today, or they wouldn't draw upon our background from the 21st century saying, okay, this is what I know clothes or wear to be, of something wearing. And so that's what gives us this great insight of trying to get into the mind of what did they understand at that time frame when they heard this word. And so we look here on lavash. Let's see if I can enlarge this a little bit. Okay. um, lavash. And of course, it does say garment to be dressed, to put on. But the first entry in here I thought was very interesting. It says to join closely. And this is where we get dual meanings. And that's the beauty of studying the Hebrew. I know it kind of goes against our modern Western mindset where we want one word to mean one thing, and there's no discrepancy, there's no questions, there's no investigation. You hear this word, one equals one, um, and that's what we want. But language, especially Semitic and ancient languages, do not work that way. And again, I believe the idea behind studying the scriptures is not just to read and pick up the surface meaning, but the intention is that we are to study it and to unpack the word and to look at various meanings because the purpose is to draw closer to God. And so, what do we see here in this word lavash? uh, of to join closely. And how does that impact us as we think about what is our desire as we serve God, that we want to join closely to Him? And so I see that parallelism. And if you think of it, it does apply because you might say, well, what does that have to do with a garment or wearing something? Well, if you think of the various clothing that we wear, and how it rides upon us and touches us and fits on our bodies, it joins very closely. You have our underwear that join most closely, touching our intimate parts of our body. And you have our outerwear that goes on top of that and touches our skin, and it's joining closely to us. And now we try to put that in a sense of this verse here of drawing close, of being very close to us and being a part of us as we go through our day. We don't even realize, the clothes we're wearing. We're just so used to them and they become a part of us. They're what people see. So this term of wearing, could it be that this is what God wants everyone to see in us? And I guess we can use the phrase, we shouldn't leave our clothes hanging in the closet. We should be wearing them. We don't want to just be wearing them in our house or in our inner circle. We want them to be seen everywhere we go in public. And so, if we apply that kind of thought process to these attributes that we're going to be unpacking here, um, it opens it up and gives us a better understanding that it's wearing so that others may see. It's putting on so that others may observe. It's joining closely to God so that these attributes have some meaning to them. We're going to see as we dig into this a little bit more that the purpose and the desires that we have really put the flavor into these attributes. And some of them cannot be accurately or displayed or enacted in the way that God intended unless we are joined closely to Him. Some of these you just can't do on your own. You have to be in a spiritual relationship with God. You have to be drawing close to Him and allowing Him to create these within you. They're not something we can manufacture on our own. And that's what makes this whole verse come alive to me is these aren't just things I can read in a book and suddenly say, well, I have mercy, I have kindness, I have humbleness of mind. These come from spending time with God. These come from studying His Word and allowing His Word to speak to us. And, prayer is a way of communication with God, but mostly prayer is one-sided for us. The challenge is to seek for it to be a two-way communication, to seek to hear God's voice. The other way we hear God's voice is when we study His Word, and His Word speaks to us, and we incline our understanding to look at these words, just as we look at this very simple word today of lavash, um, translated by etherage is to wear. Others are to put on. But again, knowing that there's a deeper meaning, that there is a level of relationship to join closely and to be visible and to allow these things to be visible in our life. So that it has been really impactful for me. I pray that you gain a little bit of maybe the emotion that I'm feeling as I was studying this, and the joy, to know that we can be allowed to be an image that reflects what God has put in us, that displays what God has put in us, and that others can see, not just what we think we see in the mirror, but as there's a song that's very dear to me that says, "Let them see you in me, let them hear you when I speak, let them feel you when I sing, let them see you in me." And that's truly my desire, as I believe it's yours also. So God bless you. Thanks so much for joining this. We'll come back next week and unpack a few more of these very beautiful words. Bye-bye.